Okay, so we're going to start the Hakdama of Heikhal HaKodesh, right? Heikhal HaKodesh was written by Rabbi Moshe ben Mimun Elbaz over 600 years ago. One of our forefathers, many generations ago. And it's very interesting because he built his Avodat Hashem based on the Zohar HaKadosh. Okay, at the time, he's from Taroudan. Taroudan is next to Agadir in the south of Morocco, and the Sepharim were not getting there so much. When they had the Shaliach that came from Israel and traveling, they used to travel with their own little library. So they would go around and exchange Sepharim. I saw this Sefer on this town. I'll give you a Sefer that I can get back in Israel. And that's how Sepharim used to move, yeah? So he didn't have the Torah Kabbalah of the Arizal. It was about the same generation. So the Torah Kabbalah, the way we know it today, from the Arizal, from the Rashash, yeah, did not get to him. So we're going to see a pure version of Avodat Hashem al pi Zohar HaKadosh. The way it was learned, he learned the Zohar HaKadosh. Yeah. So the Sefer is built on what? Seder Hayom. We start with Modéani all the way until Arbit, okay? And after that, it goes into every Moed. Shabbat, it goes into Rosh Chodesh, goes into all the Hagim, al pi Zohar HaKadosh, based on the Zohar HaKadosh. Okay? All right. So he gives an akdama, an introduction that is very important. In order to understand.
What year was the rabbi?
About 600 years ago. It's about 600 years ago. 1575.
Wow. Okay.
No, less than 600 years, 500 years ago, yeah. 1575. Is at the same time of the Arizal.
So you tell me it's the same time of the Arizal, but he didn't read the books of the Arizal?
But no, how can you? The Arizal didn't write anything. Everything was written by his student, Rabbi Haim Vital. Mm-hmm. Right? You have one that is in Israel and then going to Damas, and one is in a little town in Morocco, and they're both revealing almost the same thing. Okay, one of the pillars of Kabbalah in the Moroccan Avodat Hashem and that we have is from the Rambam Elbaz. We call him the Rambam Elbaz. Why? Rabbi Moshe ben Mimun, Rambam Elbaz. Okay? טוב. יסוד וחוכמה ועיקר התבונה שחייב האדם לקבוע בדעתו אחדות האל יתברך. The most fundamental foundation of Avodat Hashem, the basics of intellectual connection to Hashem, the basic is first to clearly understand that Hashem is one. He's really one. He's not a composition or a mixture of different elements that make it one element. Yeah, one car, it's one car, but it's made of hundreds of thousands of pieces, right? A watch is one watch, but you have thousands of pieces in it. A table is a table. We have many pieces of it. No, the one of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a pure one. Is the type of one that's even harder for us to understand. Well, just like we cannot understand infinity, when you think about it, it's also almost impossible to understand what one means. What is one? Give me one element in creation that is actually one. Even hydrogen, that is the smallest molecule, is H2, right? It's made of two molecules. two electrons going around, right? So even that's a composer, right? So we need to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Hu Ehad, okay? And what that represents to us, Vesoda, לזה שאנחנו נאמין אמונה שלמה שהיחיד הקדמון יתברך, שהוא נקרא בלשון המקורי אין סוף, ונקרא נשמת הנשמות, הוא אחד פשוט, ואין לו גוף, ולא כוח בגוף, הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו עבדיו, ולפניו אנו משתחווים. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is referred to the world of Kabbalah as the Ein Sof, infinite. Infinite. The same way you cannot understand what infinity means, you can relate to it, but you cannot understand. Can you understand what infinity means? You cannot understand what infinity means. You just keep on going. Why we can't understand infinity? Because we are limited, we are defined. So how can something defined can understand something that's undefined? Something limited cannot understand something that's limitless, that's infinite. But we can relate to it. So that's why when we talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we call him Ein Sof. Ein Sof that has no end, infinity. Number one. Also, we call him Nishmat Neshamot, the soul of all souls. He is the source, he is the koach of all kochot. And no guf, he doesn't have a body, he doesn't have the koach.
You're saying the 13 principles of Maimonides now? It looks like it sounds like it.
It's on along this line. Yeah, but that this is what you give me Karim Emuna are part of it for sure. But what he's referring to here is the Adon Olam, right? Mm-hmm. That we say every morning. The Sfarim HaKadoshim say that whoever says Adon Olam every day is a promise that he will never get hurt that day. A person that says Adon Olam Asher Malach Beterem Kol Yitzir Nivra, understand what he's saying. He's fusing with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a level of osmosis that is so perfect that the aura of Hashem imbibes him, and now he's shining a shield of aura of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he's not protected from the aura of Hashem. Adon Olam. So simple. So simple. הוא אלוהינו ואנחנו עבדיו ולפניו אנחנו משתחווים. He is the source of everything that we have, and to him, to that Ehad, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we bow. והיחיד הקדמון יתברך קודם שברא העולם לא היה נתפס בשם ידוע. It says before the creation, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose to create, he didn't have a specific name. He hadn't. Hu ushmo. Chachamim says, they say in the Gemara, Hu ushmo echad. He was him and his name. What name? We don't know. He has a name.
What do you mean? The Torah says, Bereshit bara Elohim. That's the first name of Hashem.
No. That's already creation.
So we're
talking already creation. Bereshit bara Elohim, that's the name he used in order to create. That's not his name.
When did he not have a name, you say?
Not a definite name. When he's before the creation, it was him and his name. What name? We don't have a defined.
Okay.
26 names?
No, it's much more, but no. 26 is the gematria of Yud Kevav Ke. No, but there was a concept of him and his name. A name meaning, usually when you give a name to someone, it's because you can determine who that person is based on the name you give. You define the person, right? So there was him and his name, meaning and a definition to himself, yeah. But we didn't know his name because obviously we were not created. There was no creation, right? It's only once there was a creation that he identified himself through different names. Sorry, through Kivavkeh, Elokim, Amonai, Ka, right? It's Shalom, etc., etc. כי לא נקרא בשמותיו, אלא על שם פעולותיו. And here he comes and he explains. He says, all the names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we call him are not his names. We're referring to his behavior, to the way he interacts with us. So when I say Amunai, when I refer to Yud Kei Vav Kei, for example, I refer to a certain behavior that he has with me, depending on what type of Yud Kei Vav Kei, etc. It's like we saw in last year in the last year of fundamentals of Emunah, right? Depending on the nikudim, on the vowels that you put under the Yud Kei Vav Kei. For example, if you open Magen Avraham Sidur, or most of the Sidurim, I say that because in the Kol Yaakov does not have it. They simplified it. But if you open Magen Avraham or any other Patach Eliyahu, whatever it is, you will see in the Amidah, under every beracha, you will see it has another type of vowels under the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Patach, Kamatz, Shurug, Mopulum. And each one represents another type of behavior, another Sefirah, right? And if we want to refer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kivyachol without a way he behaves with us, as en shemot, there's no shemot. We don't have a name we can relate to. That's why Chachmei HaKabbalah call him Yahid Kadmon. The only one that was, and the oldest. The only one and the oldest, right? Or the Ein Sof, Yahid Kadmon. When you talk about Yahid Kadmon, the only one and the oldest, you're referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu before he interacted with humanity, before the creation, or whatever that essence represents, when he's not interacting with humanity. Right? He doesn't have to interact with humanity. And humanity is an infinite dot in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? To us, it's everything. But to him, it's nothing. כי קודם שנברא ההוויות, היה יחיד פשוט, בלא אמונה, בלא דמות, בלא דיוק נעגל, ולא היה לו שם, ואפילו שמות התואר. Before the creation, he didn't have no names, there was no concept of emunah, there was no presence, there was no structure, there was no image that we can relate it to, nothing. ואפילו שמות התואר, even titles, Hesed, Hashem, Kel, Rahum, Hanun, even that there was not. Because all of this was part of the creation. Elah haya yahid pashut. It was the most perfect, the most simple form of one. השתבח והתרומם לעד, ובכוח אותו הפשיטות היו כל הנבראים כלולים. And from that koach, here he's saying something, a very, 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 very big yesod. From that koach of one, everything was created, which means that as fragmented as we are today, and if you think about it, we went from the one Achi Pashut she'ez, the ultimate one, right? And from that one, there was creation. From creation, there was Adam. From Adam, there's Adam and Chava. From Adam and Chava, there's... And as we go, we unveil and open creation all the way to the meta world that we have today. The meta world that we have today is what layers, like infinite layers, right? We go from resolution to resolution. Now we think that when we have a 8K resolution or 12K resolution, I don't know what they are today. Okay, the QLED and OLED and MLED and whatever LED, right? You're like, wow, I'm getting a better a quality, and I'm closer to the nature. But in reality, we get further from the one because we get overwhelmed by more pixels. The less pixel you have, the closer you are to the one. The more pixels you have, the more confused. It's like, you are right. So suddenly you get all these layers of images and all these pixels and all this quality that is to our eyes amazing, but it's just a unveiling a lower version of the one, a further point to the one. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this is why all this technology is so dangerous. Because the further you are to the one, the closer you are to the world of imagination and virtuality. And that is the point of distortion, of the point of mistake, right? The error a person can do. Because we go from super spirituality to super heaviness of physicality. And within that physicality, we start revealing another world that's called the meta world, that they call it today. Okay? And that becomes a world of spiritual, of virtuality, right? Augmented reality, virtual reality. Okay? That is coming to replace spirituality. So Chaz v'Sham, this is where humanity will, according to Al Pi HaKabbah, the Chachamim, the people will. The Zohar says that one of the biggest mistake humanity will do when Mashiach will come, will be about to come. They will trade spirituality for Sitra Achra. They will trade the Akadosh, the Emet for the Sheker. That's exactly what's happening. There is no bigger Sheker than what we're building today in the augmented reality and spiritual and virtual reality, right? It's pure Sheker. It's like the biggest lie humanity can create. Is a virtual image of something that doesn't exist, but it exists in your imagination. Like the Rambam says, then and the Dimion, the biggest Yetzer Hara man has is his imagination. Imagine that we're taking imagination and we creating worlds around it. You're on mute.
Sorry, what's a quote? The Dimion, what?
והדמיון, and the דמיון הוא היצר הרע באמת. This is the יצר הרע באמת. The real יצר הרע that man can actually relate to if you want to know what's about the יצר הרע in me. Okay, tell me יצר הרע. You want יצר הרע? Your imagination. Okay. So says the Rambam Elbaz, all the creation came from the one. What does that mean? That means that our obligation, you want to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you must take whatever creation you are referring to and applying it back to the one. Now, think how difficult that is when you talk about a virtual reality. Because now you're so far from that one. The version of pixels is now no longer a 64K or 64-bit or whatever it was at the time when we play Atara game or whatever that was called. Yeah. Atari game. You know, with this orange button and the thing. Yeah. And we thought we were on top of the one. Yeah. Today, you need to understand all this virtuality in order to find a way to. So this is exactly the nevuah, the forcing of the of the Zohar Kadosh, of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, of all the Chachmei Kabbalah that say that one day, before Mashiach comes, when Mashiach will be coming, people will trade emet for sheker. They will trade kedusha for sitra achra, for impurity. How can you trade when you think about it? If you're Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, you know what statement that means? Think about him in his level saying that. You're trading light for darkness. You have to be crazy to say something like that. Think about the statement, trade light for darkness. What does that mean? Would you trade a diamond now for grass? Does that make sense? I'm asking you, would you publicly go to on NBC, CBC, ABC, TVD, whatever you want it, and say, Rabotai, in front of millions of people, right? You will see that, I'm telling you, tomorrow people will trade diamond for grass. Or for plastic. You take him, people will take you and put you in a mental institution and make sure that you have insurance, premium, platinum, that will cover all the needs to make sure that you stop thinking. Majnun, you're crazy. That's what Rabbi Shimon said. One day the people will trade light for darkness. And it makes no sense. But this is happening today. people see in virtuality spirituality when it's really dimyon, it's really sheker. So we're trading emet for sheker. This is the yesod of the Rambam Elbaz. He says, be careful. You don't want to fall for this mistake. Always find your way to relate whatever you're referring to the one. Because everything came from that one. Everything came from there.
Make people follow happiness. So whatever makes them happy.
Yeah, immediate satisfaction.
Instead of one.
It's not even happiness, it's satisfaction. Instant satisfaction. Instead of getting to the true simcha, which is the simcha, and simcha ela Torah, the emet is the simcha. And simcha you have doubts. No more doubt, you're happy. Why? Because now you have emet in front of you. We can be mikasheret to the parashat Hashavua. Rivka, she has a baby. Yeah, she doesn't know it's twins. The Chachamim tells in the Midrash. She goes in front of the Bet HaMidrash. She goes in front of Sha'ar Tzion. Moves. I want to go. Okay. Then she walks on the street next to there are IMAX or GMAX, whatever these.
iPic.
What?
iPic.
What is iPic?
It's a movie theater.
Exactly, iPic. Okay, whatever it's called. And so now she's confused. She says, well, 1 second. Hashem Yishmor. I have a bipolar child. I have one that wants, when I go in front of Kedusha, he wants Kedusha. When I want to, he's 50-50. Catastrophe. What does she do? She goes to ask. Who does she go to?
The one. Hashem.
An oracle, no? She went to an oracle to ask him, like a.
No, she went to yeshiva of who? Of Shem and Ever.
Shem Ba'ever, yeah.
Let me ask you a question. She couldn't go to Avraham Avinu, her father-in-law, the greatest of greatest. He's alive. She cannot go to her husband, the biggest tzaddik, Ola Temima, Yitzchak Avinu. Why do you go to Shem Ba'ever? I don't understand.
That's the closest to the one.
Avraham Avinu. Huh?
That's the closest to the one. Shem Ba'ever is the closest to Hashem because it was Shem Ba'ever from the kids of Adam, maybe? I don't know.
You have Avraham Avinu, who's Megayer the whole world. He talks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks to him. Ola Temima, Yitzchak, Ola Temima. Better. Ola Yitzchak, you cannot go to Mitzrayim. It's so Kadosh.
She's afraid, intimidated.
You want to know the truth. She wants to know the truth. Why does she go there? Because there's a halacha. You're not allowed to cut your nails. No, when you cut your nails, you have to burn it or you have to bury it.
On water.
Why?
No.
Because Chas v'Shalom, if a woman that is pregnant walks on
steps
top
on
of a
it.
nail, miscarriage. There is one place where you can cut the nail and throw it on the floor, in a Bet HaMidrash. Why? Because in the Bet HaMidrash, you don't need to, no woman go in. So you don't have to be makpid. So she said, I'm going to go to the Bet HaMidrash of Shem Ba'ever. She said, if I have a son that's on one hand tzaddik, on one hand rasha, mix, I don't want it. So she went to the Bet HaMidrash to walk on the nail so that she can lose the baby. Oh, Shem picks her up and says, whoa, 1 second, what's going on here? Why are you here? So she tells him, let me tell you, big problem. I have this child, the guy is Majnun. I go in front of Bet HaMidrash, he wants to go out. I go in front of a cinema, I want to go in front of a tum'ah, he wants to go out. She said, let me ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He comes back, he prays, and he comes back and he said, you have twins, relax. Now she's happy. She has twins, she doesn't have one. Yeah. We see that when you're in the mix, yeah, it's chamur me'od, it's terrible. Rivka be'atzma, she doesn't want, she wants clarity. And simcha ke'atarat hatzedekot. When you have doubt, Hashem Yishmor. You dance between olamot. It's the worst. And that's the confusion we get today. That's the confusion. So in order to clarify and to find the simcha, like you said, and to be connected, you need totalism. You need clarity. And that clarity, how do you build clarity? by differentiating whatever you're looking at or whatever you're focusing on, right? You're differentiating it from the dimion, from the imagination from Yetzer Hara, and like that, now you can relate it to the Echad HaKadmon. You can relate it to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So first, you have to analyze it, and we're going to see Be'ezrat Hashem how through the tefillah and through the right focus you can be in a situation, take away the ananim, take away the blurriness of the imagination of what you want to see from that situation, and not the actual situation itself, right? Because we love to sugarcoat things, and I always say it, yeah. When you go to a store, they show you pictures of this mannequin, yeah, or beautiful, and he looks like $1 million, right? Now, the guy is 200 pounds, and he wants to look like this guy in the picture that's fitted like this, and he wants the same suit. So they make you look at someone that's so beautiful and standing like this, super cool. Now you want the same suit. You think you're going to look? Yeah, Habibi, you'll never look like him. Doesn't matter. You're not looking like him, but yet you're going to buy the same suit just to look like this guy. Dimion. But if you take away the mannequin and you take away the sheker, so you're going to get a suit that's proper for you. You're not going to try to look like someone you're not. Right? A situation, a deal. You like it because for whatever reason, yeah? You're going to convince yourself it's good. But at the end, that this deal is going to bankrupt you. But if you take away the imagination, the Yetzer Hara, and you now have a clear picture of the thing, now you can know, is it good, is it not good? You relate it to the emet. In order to get to that emet, says the Rambam Elvaz, know that everything is creation come from the one. You will find the thread that will bring you back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you find that thread, then you know not only that you are seeing the emet on every situation, but also you're now connected to the one, so you're not connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now you have beracha. But if you're in the Olam HaSheker, if you're in the world of virtuality and nonsense, then you're not connected to the one, and you're not connected to the beracha. Even if you see success, that's success, but that's not beracha.
Yeah, but the people that are in the virtual reality, they don't live in virtual reality. It's just like an escape from reality. So when a person has a drink, right, they're escaping from the reality.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I'm saying, I understand that.
Delusional.
Yeah, I got you. But in other words, that's the same thing that people, they don't live in the world. They're not alcoholics. They don't live drunk. They don't live in the virtual reality. They just space out for an hour to go on a video game, so they
it depends clarity. Who you have people that live most of the day in it. You have people that all day long.
But I'm just saying to relate it to us, right? The adults that we don't play video games. I'm sure Bert doesn't do virtual reality
all day long.
I'm saying us. I'm talking about us three in the room. Right? So something that is removed from clarity is to have a drink, right? So if you have a drink one time a week, whatever it is, and you remove yourself from the perfect normal life that you currently have, right? But you're talking about a guy that is an alcoholic that continuously lives in a reality that
this or anything. But it's not. It's lav davka when you need to escape. It's on the outlook of life. Like I told you, how many times you're in front of an opportunity and you convince yourself that this is good opportunity, just because of ego, or because you need to make the money, or because you need to your name out, or you feel bad. All day long we make this mistake.
We sketch ourselves.
That's the level we're talking about.
I'm going to buy a watch because I know I could sell it, but I really want it. It's really not worth the money. It's all
exactly.
It's all good.
Exactly.
I'm going to buy the car. I love it. You lose 80,000 on it.
Exactly.
It's all sketch man.
He says once you understand that from the pashtut, from the simplicity of the version of one of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything was created. Meaning there is You want to find the one in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or the thread that gets you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Find the simplicity, the simple version of everything. Simplify things to your best of abilities. When you do that, the simple version brings you back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. וזה רמזו חכמים שפרלם במאמרם הנפלא, אמרו קודם שנברא העולם, היה הוא שמו אחד. So this is what the Gemara says when they say, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, it was him and his name. ופירוש שמו, so what does it mean his name, right? We say, what does it mean? That we don't have a definition of his name at that time, right? Because it's not an interaction. So why does it need a name before creation? הוא הכוח שממנו נבראו כל השלושה עולמות שעליהם נקראו שמותם. וכולם היו בפשיטות אחד בלי שום הרכבה. ואותו הכוח הכלול בפשיטותו, אשר קרא ואמר שמה היו הספירות כולם ותולדותיהם עד העולם השפל, אין הכרה בפשיטותם איך אוקיי. He says, from Shemo, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with his name, started creating the olamot. So, when we say before creation it was him and his name, it means it was him and his desire or will of sharing, of creating. Through that desire of creation, we started to create. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, this is why Adam HaRishon, the Torah tells us, he started giving names to everyone, to everything, to the entire creation. When you name something, when you call something Etz, Shulchan, Kiseh, Adam, Tzipor, right? By calling it a name, you're basically tapping into its purpose in the creation and diving into its essence and finding the Soda Pashut, its true essence in the creation, so that you can now understand its purpose and use it to the benefit of humanity to do the Tikkun HaOlam.
So how can we name our kids? I don't think it's fair to name our children after our parents. Maybe our parents. In other words, so if you're saying what you're saying, so it's incorrect for us to name our children after our parents, because you're giving them already a brand or a label that maybe they have a potential to be higher than that, but now they have this name on them that they can't. Yeah,
who tells you that when you call your son Shimon after your father, that's called Shimon? You have to have in mind Shimon, your dad. Maybe you have to have the why Shimon Bar Yochai.
Yeah, but why Shimon? In other words, a patriarch used to say Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov for certain elements that happened the second that they were born, right? Yitzchak, the Shishachaka, that's why Yitzchak, Yaakov, because he pulled the Akeb. In other words, everyone had a certain position. Here, you're just limiting the person to that.
Why you think you choose a name? You think you choose a name?
I mean, if you look at birth, my grandpa was birth. His birth.
Tell us that when you have a child, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings you Beruach HaKodesh, he brings you the name in your mind so that you choose the proper name according to that neshama.
Yeah, but everyone is this in our community. Everyone has a grandpa's name. That's incorrect. That's what I'm saying.
No, that's not incorrect.
Great grandfather's name it could be. It's not necessarily grandfather.
You're limiting the person. Can you name your son a different name than I do?
You're not limiting the person, because when you call by your father your son, so you call him Avraham. Okay, my father's name is Avraham, so I'm calling my son Avraham. I'm not referring to Avraham, my father. I'm referring to Avraham Avinu.
But you're locking him in that Avraham box.
But the neshama, by definition, is locked. When the neshama comes down, he comes down with a purpose. So he's definite, right? So when HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses to send you a child or a neshama, it has in it already, and it knows that you're going to name, Hashem knows you're going to name him by the name of your dad. So he knows for sure that when he gives you the DNA, the spiritual DNA of that neshama, that it's proper to that name. You think you choose a name, you don't choose the name. HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses the name for you. Now, the mistake that we're making is when instead of calling him your son Yaakov, you call him Jack. Yes. Or Avraham Avi. Or Yosef Yossi. That's a problem. Or
Abraham Bert.
Oh, bird, yeah, באמת.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
Every day you have to call, for example, Shelomo, not Shalom, Shelomo. At least once a day.
Wow.
Once a day you have to call the person by his Hebrew name. Because by calling him by his Hebrew name, you reveal all the potential of all the berachot of that name. You unlock all his purpose.
Wow.
And you're tapping into its true purpose and essence in creation. That's why Adam gave everything a name. So, Be'ezrat Hashem. With that, we just touched the beginning, a few sentences of the Agdama.
I will on for Sunday.
Hold on, Be'ezrat Hashem.